The episode begins with our female lead, Ji-yoon, sitting alone at home, staring at the cake in front of her while waiting for her boyfriend. Today was a very special day for her because she was about to tell him something that could change her life forever. But while she waits, her phone suddenly buzzes with a message. The message is from her boyfriend, Gael. He tells her that he had to leave for an unexpected trip and completely forgot to tell her about it. The moment Ji-yoon reads the message, the happiness on her face disappears. The person she had been waiting for all this time wasn't coming today. Disappointed, Ji-yoon lights the candle on the cake, but as the top layer of the cake slowly begins to melt, a hidden message underneath is revealed. "Will you marry me?" Ji-yoon had planned to propose to Ga-eul today, but she never got the chance, and she had no idea that this small heartbreak would become the biggest turning point in her life 8 months later. Ji-yoon is on her way to work, as usual. Feeling hungry, she stops at a cafe for breakfast. While she's there, she receives a company notification on her phone. The message says that Kang Si-woo will be joining the company today. Ji-yoon has never heard this name before. She has no idea who Kang Si-woo is. However, the colleague sitting nearby immediately becomes serious after hearing the name. He tells her that Kang Si-woo is known as one of the most powerful and strict people in the company. People say he never smiles, he's completely devoted to his work, and if he takes an interest in an employee, that employee's life becomes very difficult. The moment people hear his name, they sit up straight. But Ji-yoon doesn't take any of these stories seriously. When she arrives at the office, she jokes that the company has more than 10,000 employees. The chances of her ever running into Kang Si-woo are practically zero. But what Ji-yoon doesn't know is that she is about to meet him within the next few hours. Ji-yoon works in Product Planning Team 1. As soon as she arrives at the office, she hears arguments and shouting coming from her department. Concerned, she goes to her manager and asks what happened. The manager explains that the ice factory has stopped production. As a result, the entire project is now on hold. And if the issue isn't solved quickly, the company could suffer major losses. The manager immediately decides to send Ji-yoon to the factory. At first, she refuses, but after some emotional persuasion and sweet talking, the manager finally convinces her. Ji-yoon points out that the factory is far away, and traveling there will take too much time, so the manager gives her permission to use the company helicopter. Ji-yoon thinks she's simply heading out to solve a routine problem. But at the factory, she's about to meet someone who will completely change her life. The atmosphere at the factory is tense. The employees have been trying nonstop to improve the quality of the ice, but every attempt has failed. Ji-yoon carefully observes the situation. After inspecting everything, she suggests that the company should invest in new machines and equipment. In her opinion, the outdated equipment is the main cause of the problem. However, the factory staff explain that they've already conducted multiple experiments. Even so, nothing has produced significant results. Ji-yoon tells them that purchasing new equipment will require official approval first, and if necessary, she'll try to find another solution herself. But just as she finishes speaking, a voice suddenly asks, "Why not do it now?" The entire room falls silent. Everyone turns toward the source of the voice, and this is where the real story begins. Like everyone else, Ji-yoon looks at the man who spoke, but she doesn't recognize him. Without thinking twice, she immediately starts arguing with him. She says it's wrong to jump to conclusions without fully understanding the situation. The man, however, remains completely calm. He points out that if the company keeps waiting for approvals like this, their competitors will leave them far behind. Ji-yoon isn't the type to back down either. She immediately fires back. To her, it sounds like he's simply talking without understanding the reality of the situation. But in the very next second, the ground seems to disappear beneath her feet because the man introduces himself, Kang Si-woo. The moment Ji-yoon hears that name, she freezes. This was the same Kang Si-woo everyone had been talking about all morning. The same man every employee feared. Everyone in the room instantly straightens their posture. Some employees become so nervous that they start apologizing. Others try to ease the tension by inviting him to lunch. But as always, Kang Si-woo remains expressionless. Without showing the slightest emotion, he rejects the invitation. Then he simply walks away. Ji-yoon stands there in shock. She can't believe that just a few minutes ago she was arguing with the most intimidating boss in the company. But the strangest part was this. There was no anger on Kang Si-woo's face. It almost felt as if he was interested in Ji-yoon for some completely different reason. After finishing her work at the factory, Ji-yoon heads toward the helicopter to return to the company. Just as she is about to get in, the pilot stops her. He tells her that another passenger will be traveling with them. Hearing this, Ji-yoon becomes curious, but in the very next moment, her eyes land on the passenger. And the moment she sees his face, her heart starts racing again, because that passenger is none other than Kang Si-woo. Only a short while ago, she had been arguing with him, and now she would have to spend the entire trip sitting beside him. After getting into the helicopter, Ji-yoon gathers her courage and introduces herself. She also apologizes for not recognizing him earlier, but Kang Si-woo's response only leaves her even more confused. He simply says, "You've changed a lot." Ji-yoon instantly falls silent. Only one question keeps running through her mind. How does this man know her? Have they met before? Or is Kang Si-woo mistaking her for someone else? But before she can get any answers, the helicopter suddenly begins to shake violently. Strong winds throw it off balance. Terrified, Ji-yoon loses her balance as well, and by accident, her head falls onto Kang Si-woo's lap. The moment she realizes what happened, she immediately sits back up. The embarrassment on her face is impossible to miss, but Kang Si-woo remains completely expressionless, just as always. And somehow that makes Ji-yoon even more uncomfortable because she has absolutely no idea what this man is really thinking. As soon as they return to the company, Ji-yoon faces yet another problem. Her manager starts scolding her and even blames her for all the issues that happened at the factory. But Ji-yoon doesn't argue. She quietly returns to her desk and focuses on her work. Surprisingly, despite all the pressure, she is still the first person in the department to finish her tasks. And once her work is done, she heads straight home. Seeing this, her coworkers once again find themselves wondering the same thing. How does Ji-yoon always finish her work so quickly? After arriving home, the first thing she does is turn off all work notifications on her phone. For her, work life and personal life are completely separate. Once work is over, it's over. After that, she relaxes with a drink. But today, her mind refuses to settle down. Kang Si-woo's face keeps appearing in her thoughts, especially that strange sentence he said, "You've changed a lot." The harder Ji-yoon tries to forget those words, the more they keep replaying in her head. And as she sits there, lost in thought, her memories drift back to her college days. She remembers the boy who once made her heart race, Ga-ul. Ji-yoon had fallen for him at first sight. One day, Ga-ul approached her and handed her a club application form. He assumed she had come to join his club. The truth was that Ji-yoon knew absolutely nothing about the activity. But just to stay close to him, she filled out the application anyway. She even learned how to play the drums. As time passed, her feelings for him grew deeper and deeper. Eventually, the day came when she decided to confess her feelings. But fate seemed to have other plans. Before she could say anything, Gael told her that he was moving abroad. Hearing that completely shattered her heart. And perhaps from that day on, she stopped believing in love the way she once had. The next day at work, everyone is focused on one piece of news. Kang Si-woo has officially joined the department and will personally oversee Team 2. The moment Team 2 hears this, their faces drop. Everyone already knows about his strict reputation. Even so, a few employees gather enough courage to invite him to dinner. But exactly as expected, Kang Si-woo declines the invitation. He tells everyone to focus on their work and nothing else. Watching the situation unfold, Ji-yoon secretly smiles from her desk. She can't help finding Team 2's misery a little amusing, but then her eyes meet Kang Si-woo's, and she immediately stops smiling because he is already looking at her, almost as if he has been watching her the entire time. During lunch break, Ji-yoon receives a call from her mother. Her mother asks her to meet at a cafe. Thinking it must be something important, Ji-yoon agrees and heads there without much thought. But the moment she arrives, she is completely shocked. Her mother hadn't invited her there for a conversation. She had arranged a blind date for her. Ji-yoon immediately steps outside and calls her mother. She does everything she can to avoid the situation, but eventually, she is forced to go back inside. And that's when she notices someone else in the cafe. Kang Si-woo. He is there too. Ji-yoon feels like the situation couldn't possibly get any more awkward, but she has no idea that the real awkwardness is still yet to come. Meanwhile, her blind date keeps telling one awkward joke after another, laughing at every single one himself. Ji-yoon does her best to handle the situation politely. Then her blind date notices a bit of sauce on her face. He reaches out to wipe it off, but at that exact moment, Kang Si-woo gets up to leave. As he walks away, he glances at Ji-yoon. And for just a brief moment, a faint smile appears on his face. Seeing that only makes Ji-yoon feel even more awkward. She immediately stops the blind date from touching her face and gently pushes his hand away. She assumes the embarrassing cafe incident is finally over, but the real drama begins after she returns to the office. As soon as she arrives, a coworker hands her a wedding invitation. The invitation belongs to the manager of the design department. The manager is extremely popular within the company. After she leaves, Ji-yoon and her friend even spend some time praising her. But not long afterward, the atmosphere in the department suddenly becomes strange. One by one, employees begin congratulating Ji-yoon. Some even jokingly start discussing her future wedding plans. Ji-yoon is completely confused. Why is everyone suddenly talking like this? That's when a colleague explains that someone posted on the company's internal forum claiming that Ji-yoon went on a blind date, and now the rumor has spread throughout the entire company. Immediately, the cafe incident flashes through Ji-yoon's mind, and the very first name she thinks of is Kang Si-woo. She assumes he must be responsible for the rumor, so she heads straight to his office. But once she gets there, she quickly discovers that Kang Si-woo knows absolutely nothing about the post. While they're talking, his eyes fall on the wedding invitation in her hand. Casually, Ji-yoon invites him to the wedding as well. But once again, his response is cold and unexpected. He simply says, "I don't think those things are important to me." Then he walks away without another word, and once again, Ji-yoon is left trying to figure out the mystery behind Kang Si-woo's strange behavior. On her way home from work, Ji-yoon calls her mother and firmly tells her not to arrange any more blind dates, but her mother insists that if she keeps avoiding marriage, she'll end up alone. Frustrated, Ji-yoon says she has no plans to get married anytime soon and hangs up. The next day, Ji-yoon attends an important presentation with her manager, but The moment it begins, she freezes. The proposal on the screen is her own work, the same idea, strategy, and presentation her manager had previously rejected. Now he's presenting it as his own. Realizing he stole her idea, Ji-yoon secretly deletes the presentation file, hoping to expose him. What she doesn't know is that Kang Si-woo is watching everything. When the file disappears, the manager panics. Kang Si-woo steps in, asking technical questions about the project, especially the ice product. The manager fails to answer, making it obvious something is wrong. Remembering Ji-yoon's suggestion at the factory, Kang Si-woo turns to her and asks, "Is there something you'd like to say?" But Ji-yoon stays silent. After the meeting, Kang Si-woo asks why she didn't speak up if the idea was hers. Ji-yoon quietly admits she wasn't confident enough, then walks away. Later, Kang Si-woo finds her notebook filled with detailed product planning and business strategies. After reading it, he becomes even more interested in her. Back at the office, Ji-yoon receives wedding gift envelopes. A colleague jokes that she should get one from Kang Si-woo too. She waits until evening, but remembering that he has no interest in weddings, she quietly leaves. At the bus stop, Kang Si-woo approaches her and silently returns her notebook. Before she can thank him, the bus arrives. She gets on, only to discover that Kang Si-woo boards the same bus and sits beside her. Just before getting off, he suddenly asks, "Would you give a wedding envelope at your ex-husband's wedding?" Then he leaves. Ji-yoon is left speechless. On the ride home, she keeps thinking about his question and eventually convinces herself that the design department manager must be Kang Si-woo's ex-wife. The next day at the wedding, Ji-yoon can't stop thinking about Kang Si-woo. Every time she sees the design department manager, she feels sorry for him. Later, she sits alone in a nearby park where memories of Ga-eul come rushing back. She remembers how they once planned a trip together, only for him to leave without her. Incidents like that slowly push them apart until they eventually broke up. Thinking Kang Si-woo may have gone through something similar, she sends him an apology. His reply catches her completely off guard. "If you're really sorry, take me out for dinner or a drink." That evening, she meets him. As she waits by the roadside, Kang Si-woo suddenly grabs her hand and leads her safely across the street before she can even react. He then takes her to a restaurant owned by one of his friends, surprising Ji-yoon, who never imagined someone as cold as him having close friends. During dinner, they have their first genuine conversation. When he asks about the wedding, Ji-yoon simply jokes, "The wedding was fine. The food wasn't." For the first time, a faint smile appears on Kang Si-woo's face. Then he reveals something unexpected. He has been suspended and won't be staying in the department for long. Before he can explain, the chairman calls, forcing him to step outside. When he returns, Ji-yoon is almost asleep after drinking too much. Nothing wakes her up until he quietly whispers, "Ji-yoon, you're late for work." Her eyes fly open instantly. After leaving the restaurant, they walk together through the quiet night. Ji-yoon finally opens up about her breakup with Ga-eul. As they walk, she suddenly loses her balance, but Kang Si-woo catches her before she falls. For a brief moment, they stand silently, only inches apart. Then Kang Si-woo asks, "Would you like to go for a drink again tomorrow?" Ji-yoon is completely stunned. The man she had always seen as nothing more than a cold, strict boss was slowly becoming someone truly special in her life. Kang Si-woo's question completely catches Ji-yoon off guard. Flustered, she quickly changes the subject, says goodbye, and rushes away, leaving Kang Si-woo confused by her sudden change in behavior. But the real embarrassment comes the next morning. After waking up from a night filled with dreams about Kang Si-woo, Ji-yoon heads to a convenience store to clear her mind. In her rush, she forgets to change out of her pajamas. Just then, Kang Si-woo walks into the store. The moment he sees her, he approaches, then immediately turns around and walks back outside. Ji-yoon assumes he suddenly remembered something important, but the truth is much simpler. Outside, Kang Si-woo can't hold back his laughter. Meanwhile, as Ji-yoon pays for her items, the cashier asks her to return the groceries Kang Si-woo accidentally left behind. When she steps outside to find him, a little girl points at her and says, "You're wearing the same shorts as my dad." At that moment, Kang Si-woo bursts into laughter again. Only then does Ji-yoon realize why he had walked outside. Red-faced with embarrassment, she grabs his groceries and quickly walks away. The next day at work, Ji-yoon does everything she can to avoid Kang Si-woo. But Kang Si-woo has no intention of giving up. At lunch, he sits at her table, leaving the entire department stunned. He was known for always eating alone and never socializing. He tries to start a conversation, but Ji-yoon keeps avoiding him. Later, he asks if she's free that evening. She turns him down again. Kang Si-woo simply replies, "I expected that answer." Then he walks away. After work, Ji-yoon tells her friend everything that's been happening. Her friend suggests that maybe she should give Kang Si-woo a chance, but Ji-yoon immediately dismisses the idea. Jokingly, her friend says, "I have a feeling this is going to end with a confession." Ji-yoon laughs it off, but the words stay in the back of her mind. Meanwhile, Kang Si-woo learns that Ji-yoon's close friend, Jeon, is trying to help bring them together. That evening, Jeon invites Ji-yoon out for drinks. She thinks it's just a casual meetup. But shortly after they arrive, Kang Si-woo shows up, and Jeon quickly excuses himself, leaving the two of them alone. Looking at Ji-yoon, Kang Si-woo says, "It's really hard to get a chance to meet you." Then he adds, "I like you." For a moment, Ji-yoon thinks he's about to confess. Instead, he finishes with, "So, will you join my project team?" Her expectations instantly disappear. She politely refuses, saying she doesn't want to leave her current team. Later that night, Kang Si-woo visits an old repair shop run by a man who has known him since childhood. While helping him with some work, the owner asks if he has a girlfriend yet. With a small smile, Kang Si-woo admits, "There is someone I like. I just don't know how to tell her." The owner immediately realizes that Kang Si-woo's feelings are serious. The next day, everyone at the office learns that Kang Si-woo has formed a new task force team, and it has received direct approval from the company president. The news infuriates Ji-yoon's manager because the project he wanted is now in Kang Si-woo's hands. Meanwhile, Ji-yoon visits the ice factory, where the employees tell her that despite his cold personality, Kang Si-woo is actually a kind leader who always supports his team and never takes credit for himself. Hearing this begins to change Ji-yoon's opinion of him. Later that evening, she notices him working alone long after everyone else has left, making her realize she may have judged him too quickly. But the biggest surprise comes when she gets home. Someone suddenly hugs her. She turns around in shock. It's Gael, the man who disappeared from her life 8 months ago. Although seeing him stirs up old feelings, Ji-yoon tells him to leave. But once she's inside, she can't hold back her tears. The truth is, she still hasn't completely moved on, and that's where the love triangle truly begins. The next morning, Kang Si-woo visits the convenience store where the shopkeeper tells him that his favorite drink was accidentally given to Ji-yoon. When he arrives at the office, he sees Ji-yoon's manager publicly humiliating her. Later, he approaches Ji-yoon, supposedly to get his drink back, but his real reason is to ask her once again to join his task force team. He admits that he read her notebook after it was accidentally left with him. It wasn't just filled with business ideas. It contained her dreams, ambitions, and future goals. That's when he realized she was different from everyone else and truly deserved to be on his team. Kang Si-woo also reveals that he once worked under the same manager but lost his job after trying to expose the manager's misconduct without enough evidence. Even after learning the truth, Ji-yoon can't make a decision and walks away without answering. The very next day, everything changes. When Yoa suddenly falls ill, the manager insults her instead of letting her rest. This time, Ji-yoon stands up to him in front of everyone. "What you're doing is workplace harassment." The entire office falls silent. That night, Ji-yoon tries to write her resignation letter but can't bring herself to finish it. Then she opens her notebook and discovers that Kang Si-woo has written thoughtful solutions beside every one of her ideas and goals. At that moment, she realizes that someone finally understands and believes in her potential. The next day, Ji-yoon makes the biggest decision of her career. She leaves her old team and officially joins Kang Si-woo's task force team. As soon as Ji-yoon joins the task force team, the entire office starts talking about her. Everyone is shocked. Why would she choose Kang Si-woo's team? Soon after, Ji-yoon and Kang Si-woo head to the ice factory to test the new idea. To everyone's surprise, the quality of the ice has improved significantly, and it was all thanks to Ji-yoon's idea. At first, Ji-yoon assumes Kang Si-woo will take all the credit, but this time he surprises her. In front of everyone, he says, "This wasn't my idea. It was Ji-yoon's." For a moment, Ji-yoon is speechless. She can't help wondering, who is Kang Si-woo, really? Back at the office, her former manager once again dumps extra work on her. Just as Ji-yoon is about to accept it, Kang Si-woo steps in. He firmly tells the manager, "Ji-yoon won't be doing this." The office falls silent, but not wanting to create more conflict, Ji-yoon accepts the work anyway. Seeing this, Kang Si-woo quietly places one of his own files on her desk. Now she has two people's work to finish. As night falls, everyone leaves the office except Ji-yoon. Even her co-workers feel sorry for her, knowing she'll once again be the last one to leave. When she finally finishes and walks outside, another surprise is waiting. Kang Si-woo is already standing at the bus stop. A few moments later, they're riding the same bus again. Ji-yoon can only think, from now on, I'm never leaving the office this late again. She tries to make conversation during the ride, but Kang Si-woo simply stares out the window without saying a word. The next day, after working nonstop, Ji-yoon finally finishes both her manager's and Kang Si-woo's files. Relieved, she sits down to enjoy a bowl of noodles. But her peace doesn't last long. She receives a phone call and learns that Ga-eul has spent all of his money producing a song. Now he's broke and has no clear direction in life. The news instantly ruins her mood. She loses her appetite and, in frustration, throws her noodles straight into the trash. Meanwhile, the story takes an emotional turn on the other side. No-ah goes to meet her boyfriend, but her biggest fear comes true. He breaks up with her. Heartbroken, No-ah keeps apologizing even though she has done nothing wrong. But his decision doesn't change. He leaves her behind, and No-ah quietly breaks down in tears. Just then, a stranger walks over, gently places his cape on her shoulders without saying a word, and quietly walks away. No-ah can only watch him leave. Meanwhile, Ji-yoon is on her way to work when she receives a message from Ga-eul. Along with it, he sends the song they created together. The moment she listens to it, old memories come rushing back. Tears fill her eyes, and she quietly breaks down, before finally pulling herself together and heading to the office. As soon as Kang Si-woo sees her, he realizes something is wrong. He tries several times to ask what's bothering her, but Ji-yoon avoids the conversation. She isn't ready to share her pain with anyone. The next day, Ji-yoon arrives at the office even earlier than usual. Before Kang Si-woo can say anything, she finishes all her work. Impressed, he continues working with her on the ice cube project, and their teamwork grows even stronger. That evening, Ji-yoon stops by a convenience store for some snacks. There, she runs into Kang Si-woo again. Since most of the items are on a buy one, get one free promotion, they decide to shop together and split the bill. Afterward, Kang Si-woo walks her home. But on the way, Ga-il suddenly appears. Without saying a word, he takes the shopping bags from Ji-yoon's hands. Confused, Kang Si-woo wonders who he is. Ji-yoon introduces him as her ex-boyfriend. The moment Kang Si-woo hears that, his expression changes. He quietly turns to leave, but Ji-yoon stops him. Ga-il then walks over, and the two men introduce themselves with a handshake. But it is anything but friendly. They grip each other's hands so tightly that it feels like their rivalry has already begun. Before leaving, Ga-il gives Ji-yoon a ticket to his concert. And after he walks away, the atmosphere between Ji-yoon and Kang Si-woo becomes even more awkward. The next day, everyone at the office eagerly waits for the final results of the ice project. As Kang Si-woo inspects the new ice cubes, a look of satisfaction appears on his face for the first time. He officially approves the project. The entire team erupts in celebration after days of hard work. To everyone's surprise, Kang Si-woo even decides to treat the whole team to dinner. No one expected the man known for being cold and emotionless to celebrate with everyone, but Ji-yoon faces a difficult choice. Ga-il's concert is happening the very same day. On one side is her team's celebration. On the other is her unfinished past. Seeing her hesitation, Kang Si-woo takes her aside and calmly says, "Crying won't change anything. If there are things left unsaid, go and settle them once and for all." His words touch Ji-yoon deeply, and she heads straight to Ga-il's concert. The moment she arrives, Ga-il notices her and smiles. Throughout the performance, he not only sings, but also shares memories of their past together. Then, a shocking truth is revealed. On the day Ji-yoon planned to propose, Ga-il already knew about it. He deliberately lied about going on a trip to avoid facing her. The truth completely breaks Ji-yoon's heart. Later, Ga-il performs the song they wrote together. As the music plays, Ji-yoon finally realizes that no matter how much they once loved each other, their dreams, values, and way of living were never the same, and perhaps that's why they were never meant to be together. Accepting that painful truth, Ji-yoon quietly leaves the concert in tears before it even ends. As soon as the concert ends, Ga-il walks over to Ji-yoon and tries to talk to her. He sincerely apologizes for everything he did in the past, but Ji-yoon gently smiles and says, "There was a time when I wanted you to stay by my side forever, but I don't want to be selfish anymore. You deserve to live your own life, and I deserve to live mine." After saying that, she gives Ga-il one last heartfelt hug. Then, with tears in her eyes, she quietly says goodbye and asks him not to look for her again. The next day at the office, Kang Si-woo approaches Ji-yoon once again. As casually as ever, he asks if she'd like to spend the weekend with him. But instead of answering, Ji-yoon changes the subject. She tells him that she has finally ended things with Ga-il for good. Kang Si-woo doesn't say a word. He simply listens. Later, Ji-yoon is chatting with Noah when another co-worker joins them. She jokingly calls Kang Si-woo cold and overly serious. This time, Ji-yoon immediately defends him. She says, "Kang Si-woo isn't as bad as everyone thinks. He's strict, but he's actually a genuinely kind person." Hearing that, Noah and the other co-worker exchange surprised looks before teasing her. "Don't tell us there's something going on between you two." Flustered, Ji-yoon quickly starts criticizing Kang Si-woo to cover her embarrassment. What she doesn't realize is that Kang Si-woo has been standing right behind her, listening to everything. The moment Noah and the other co-worker notice him, they quickly leave. Kang Si-woo quietly turns to walk away, but Ji-yoon rushes after him and apologizes. To her surprise, he simply smiles and says, "If that's what you think of me, then it's probably true." With that, he walks away, leaving Ji-yoon even more confused about what he was really thinking. A little later, Ji-yoon's former manager arrives for the ICE project meeting. He insists on giving the presentation himself. But Kang Si-woo immediately shuts him down. In front of everyone, he announces that Ji-yoon will present the project instead. The manager is furious. But this time, Ji-yoon isn't the same person she used to be. Without hesitation, she confidently accepts the opportunity. Meanwhile, No-ah still hasn't moved on from her breakup. To distract herself, she joins a special class, hoping a new environment will help her forget her ex. But the moment she walks in, she freezes. The class monitor is the same mysterious guy who silently comforted her by placing his cap on her shoulders after her breakup. Meanwhile, Ji-yoon and Kang Si-woo head to a stadium to promote their new project. Dressed in a sports jersey, Kang Si-woo quickly becomes the center of attention. Fans gather around him for photos and autographs. After the promotion, the two stay to watch the game. Then the stadium's kiss cam begins searching for couples. A few moments later, the camera lands on Ji-yoon and Kang Si-woo. The entire crowd starts chanting, "Kiss, kiss, kiss." Embarrassed, Ji-yoon notices Kang Si-woo looking at her and nervously closes her eyes, thinking he's about to kiss her. But instead, Kang Si-woo walks over and kisses a stadium mascot's costume. The crowd bursts into laughter, leaving Ji-yoon completely embarrassed. Unfortunately, the entire moment is being broadcast live on TV. Back home, Ji-yoon's mother and brother have already seen everything. As expected, her mother brings up marriage again and asks about the man from the stadium. Ji-yoon quickly explains that Kang Si-woo is just her manager. Then her mother drops a shocking bombshell. She announces that she's planning to divorce Ji-yoon's father. The news leaves Ji-yoon speechless. Her brother jokingly says that someone as successful and handsome as Kang Si-woo wouldn't be a bad choice. He also mentions that Ga-eul is becoming successful as a singer. Hearing that, Ji-yoon's mother suggests that she should get back together with him. That is the final straw. Without saying another word, Ji-yoon angrily walks away. The next day, she visits a repair shop to fix her old music recorder. To her surprise, it's the same workshop Kang Si-woo often visits. Another emotional connection is revealed. The shop owner is none other than Ji-yoon's father. The two spend some quiet time talking, and it's clear from their conversation how much they care about each other. The next day at the office, Kang Si-woo personally helps Ji-yoon prepare for her presentation. He points out every mistake and pushes her to focus on even the smallest details. But the employees watching from outside misunderstand the situation. They assume he's making Ji-yoon work far harder than necessary. That's when John shares an old story. He explains that another member of Kang Si-woo's team was originally supposed to give an important presentation, but fell ill at the last minute, forcing Kang Si-woo to present it himself. Unnoticed, Ji-yoon's former manager overhears the entire conversation. That night, after working nonstop, Ji-yoon actually falls sick. Kang Si-woo immediately takes her home and quietly stays outside all night to make sure she's okay. The next morning, Ji-yoon doesn't arrive at the office on time. Her coworkers become even more convinced that Kang Si-woo's strict training made her sick. But just before the presentation begins, Ji-yoon finally arrives. To everyone's surprise, she delivers the presentation flawlessly, following everything Kang Si-woo taught her and wins over the entire audience. Afterward, the two go out for lunch. After his first bite, Kang Si-woo makes a strange expression, thinking he dislikes the food. Ji-yoon asks if something is wrong. Instead, he admits he actually loves it. That's when Ji-yoon discovers one of his funny habits. Whenever Kang Si-woo genuinely likes something, he slightly furrows his eyebrows. The next day, the office is buzzing with another piece of news. Lee Young-hun, the employee who had fallen ill before that presentation, is returning to the company. On the company forum, he explains that he never abandoned the presentation on purpose and praises Kang Si-woo, saying he is far kinder than people believe. Reading the post brings a smile to Ji-yoon's face. Wanting to thank him, she buys Kang Si-woo a juice and heads to his office. But the moment she arrives, she sees him talking with the design department manager. For some reason, the sight fills Ji-yoon with an unfamiliar feeling of jealousy.